Let's jump right in. For centuries, there's been this massive shadow stretching across human history. We're talking about a completely forbidden realm of works that academic science pretty much ignores and orthodox religions fiercely condemn. It's knowledge that's been passed down in total secret, literally hand to hand. So today, in this explainer, we are embarking on a totally objective anthropological investigation into what might just be the darkest system ever hidden from humanity. We're going to decode the complex, taboo, and heavily guarded world of the occult.
There's this great line from Christopher Marlowe's Faustus, "'Tis magic, magic that hath ravished me." And honestly, that quote perfectly captures the intoxicating vibe of our subject today. For as long as humanity has existed, the romance, the wonder, and the promised omnipotence of sorcery have completely captivated human imagination. It's a system that promises dominion stretching as far as the mind of man. But to truly understand the darkest system ever hidden from humanity, we have to strip away all those Hollywood fantasy tropes. We need to look objectively at its actual historical mechanics.
All right, Part 1, Unveiling the Hidden System. Stepping completely away from any moral judgments for a second, let's look at how almost clinical this practice actually is. Our goal here isn't to condemn or endorse anything. We just want to understand what these practitioners actually believe they are doing. Michael A. Aquino, who's a pretty prominent figure in the modern occult, defines greater black magic as the theory and practice of non-natural interaction with the subjective universe to adjust features to a desired state. Notice that? It's not about, stirring cauldrons or doing spooky parlor tricks. It's about a deliberate, highly coherent focusing of the will to manipulate the frontiers of your subjective reality.
Moving right on along to Part 2, Cosmology of the Dark. Let's map this out.
Think about the very apex of esoteric cosmology. In Jewish mysticism, the Kabbalah, this crown is known as Keter. It's here that the myths of God and Satan are supposedly reconciled into this totally unknowable reality of negative existence. Up there, there's absolutely no separation. To an advanced practitioner, typical descriptors like black or white magic, they're just irrelevant moral contrivances. At its absolute core, all of this is about tapping into a raw, chaotic power that sits right beneath the illusion shell of the human ego.
And the contrast here is fascinating. On one hand, you have the bright supernal spheres representing ultimate divine order, but they sit directly above their exact inverse, the Qliphothotic realms or the Tree of Death. The ancient texts describe these as 11 hells. Basically, they're blind reservoirs of highly destructive, imbalanced energy. And actually, it's specifically these baneful aspects filtering down through what they call the Great Outer Abyss that the black magician deliberately seeks out and tries to harness.
Which brings us right into Part 3, the left-hand path.
This is an absolutely crucial concept to grasp. The whole engine of this hidden system runs on a strict division between two totally opposing philosophies. On one side, you have conventional religions and orthodox realities, the right-hand path. That's all built on order, dogma, faith, and frankly, conformity. But in direct opposition is the left-hand path. They operate on a magical formula of reversal, which some texts call the tantric backward doing. So the left-hand path literally views order as oppression. Instead, it champions chaos, hidden knowledge, fierce rebellion, and absolute unyielding individualism. And that ties into a really powerful, recurring motif in the source texts. The nightmare of the tyrant is the freedom of the people. When you really stop to realize how these practitioners view the world, it's mind-blowing. For followers of the left-hand path, any system that demands unquestioned control, whether that's the church, the state, or even just everyday consensus reality, is a tyrant. They see their hidden system as a completely necessary, subversive force that guarantees spiritual freedom. It's meant to push human evolution forward through the creative tension of chaos.
Okay, Part 4, Keepers of the Secret. Let's trace the lineage of all this.
So, how does an idea like this survive across millennia? Well, this hidden knowledge was originally guarded by ancient Egyptian mystery systems. From there, the texts actually trace its transmission through Babylonian mysticism, eventually filtering into the infamous Knights Templar during the Crusades. And finally, it mutated into the modern secret societies we always hear whispered about today. Remember, this was often preserved under the threat of brutal execution, so the knowledge was fiercely guarded, heavily graded, and delivered completely orally to initiates who were bound by literal blood oaths of secrecy.
You can clearly see the ancient Egyptian roots of this hidden priesthood in a lot of their imagery. Modern practitioners, like those in the Temple of Set, for example, have actively reached all the way back into these ancient pagan contexts to reframe their own practices.
Basically, they are intentionally bypassing centuries of orthodox religious conditioning so they can connect directly with what they view as a primordial illuminating darkness.
Now, to actually interact with this reality, these orders used highly subversive, intensely taboo tactics. Their historical records are just wild. The Knights Templar were notoriously condemned and completely dismantled by the Church for allegedly worshipping the idol Baphomet. On top of that, sources assert that highly advanced sex magic is at the very heart of top-level Freemasonry, forming the supreme secret of the 8th and 9th degree rituals of the OTO. That's the organization made famous by Aleister Crowley. But at their core, all of these shocking practices serve one single purpose: the absolute heretical questioning of consensus reality.
But here is the ultimate historical paradox, and it's something you definitely need to take away from this explainer. Magic has been continually disparaged, right? It's banned, it's viewed as completely subversive. But these disowned, bastard children of human thought are actually largely responsible for our vaunted scientific progress. The heresy of yesterday quite literally becomes the science of today. Think about it. Alchemy evolved into modern chemistry and medicine. Astrology birthed astronomy and physics. In occult hermetics, that laid the very groundwork for modern psychology.
All right, let's bring it up to the present. Part 5. Magic in the Modern Era.
So the arcane underground didn't just disappear. It simply mutated. While it used to survive strictly via hand-copied manuscripts passed through tiny hidden cabals, it is now absolutely exploded onto what practitioners creatively call the cybernetic astral plane. We're talking encrypted deep web message boards and obscure digital forums. Groups like the Illuminati and the Invisibles are actively adapting for the new millennium. What exists behind the scenes right now is a massive, fragmented, yet surprisingly generous community of modern magi, constantly recreating these ancient mysteries in bold new forms.
Aleister Crowley actually summarized this modern worldview beautifully. He wrote, "Beyond a certain point, the whole universe becomes a continuous initiation." See, modern practitioners don't view this as some fun weekend hobby. No way. They view their very existence as an ongoing, dynamic process of awakening. It's a continuous creative tension between the stifling order of the mundane world and the liberating chaos of the subjective universe.
Which brings us to the ultimate question. Why does all of this matter to us, whether we actively practice magic or just observe it? Well, exploring the darkest system ever hidden from humanity reveals a really profound psychological truth about the immense power of human will. Think about it. If the universe truly is a continuous initiation, and your subjective universe can actually be manipulated by focused intent, what reality are you actually shaping right now? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll leave you to ponder that.